I have to say that I always had two careers, which was one as a performer or as a drummer, and one as a producer or someone that writes music or puts together music. So most people are not aware that I had this other career, that was also paying a substantial amount of my bills throughout the years. Actually, at some point, it even went to the point where I wasn't as visible as for many years as a performer or as a drummer. People know, oh, this is the guy who plays with Screaming Hellish Horses, but what else does he do? And so that was under the radar, making beats and doing remixes and doing all those things. And that's kind of like a clandestine operation to a big to a big extent. So I was always into machines and programming and Pro Tools and all those things, and um, I understood the discipline of generating electronically programmed beats. So I could relate to it when I started to hear electronically created beats that were just like so bizarre, or like outlandish and fresh and new. That were like, oh wait a minute, I know the discipline and the craftsmanship about programming these things. How about I use it? I bring it into the entity of performing these things. So yes, sometimes I programmed it first, and then I started to learn how to play it. But sometimes it was not necessary for me to program something that someone else already programmed, because I understood how he was doing it, so I could reverse engineer it to an acoustic set. Like kind of like, I don't know, to show you, something like, I had a snare drum, and I needed a hand clap. So I didn't have a device on my drum set that like provided me. So I had to come up with something that sounded like a hand clap. So I tried different possibilities. So this would kind of like a hand clap. An electronic hand clap is basically a flam of a white noise processed sound. So I could go like, would that give me a hand clap sound, or how can I do something that that's what I call like reverse engineering, to give you like a little bit of like an idea. Or I would do all sorts of things, like turn my head, or create certain beats like and so on. So I somehow like started to discover the acoustic kit by trying to reverse engineer some of those sounds or beats that I kind of heard, and I'm not sure if I'm the first guy who did that, but when I started it, I wasn't really aware of anyone else taking that approach. So when I first started to do that, evidently I got a lot of attention from like people, because it was something new, and somehow people today kind of give me credits of like being that guy that started to do those things. But I'm certainly not the only one by now. There's like other people. But I was wondering always, I was mystified why there's not more people actually do that, because it's just such an open field to create unprecedented music. And one thing I have to point out though, like there's a bit of like a notion of that can be misunderstood. Like I'm not trying to play like a machine, or simply for the fact that I can't, because I'm not a machine. I'm not supposed to play like a machine, because we invented computers and machines to do the dirty work, so we can enjoy life and have an espresso while this thing is calculating whatever it has to calculate. However, we still need a machine. We still need a human being to create a machine, to program a machine. So all I want to do is like, I want to somehow evoke the feeling and the texture, of something new. And I'm supposed to play like a human being, and by playing beats that were usually associated by being generated by a machine, not programmed, but generated by a machine. Somehow I think I make it more evident that there's a space between, binary culture and analog culture, which we are. We are analog beings, so computers are binary systems. Everything is either 0 or 1, or it's either yes or no. With machines, there's no like maybe or perhaps or I'm not sure. So those are human, intuitive. This creates the intuitive aspect of music, which is to me the most fascinating one and the most magical one. Which brings us back to where I started, to like jazz, where you go like you make a decision in this, in a fraction of a second, where you go like boom, this. Improvisation to me is like the master art in performing, not just music but anything, stand-up comedy or dance, or when it comes to like performing, that art of like just going out there with a blank mind and create something for the first time. I always was fascinated by that magical moment. So by doing this and leave a certain aesthetic that was like, well, I can, by doing this, I can, how should I say, I can entice, a kid which is 19 years old or 20 years old that does not know who Tony Williams is and evidently doesn't care who Tony Williams is, and I can somehow connect them with the art of playing a real drum, so they can relate to it, because it's not like, oh, my older brother, he plays in a blues band, like they like electronic, they like DJ culture, so I can give him this and make him connect and maybe discover some of the older stuff that still is valid. The drum set is an instrument and a computer is an instrument. Drum set has certain limitations that, as far as computing precision, a computer is by far superior than to like a drum machine, than to like an acoustic drum, where we have to move air and we have to deal with acoustics and things that change. There's much more. However, and as I said, creating music on a computer is more like painting a picture. It's like you can change your mind a million times around up until you, okay, now I like it. You consolidate it, you print it, you have your work of art. Well, like performing, there's so many factors that influence you, and I think my personal soul of like that is exactly dealing with those occurrences of like, how do I manage in that struggle of like, frequencies and moving air and like things that affect me emotionally. How do I deal with that? Like, can I? It's unsafe. It's an unsafe environment, and being able to prevail. That's my art. And being able to like bring the heart out and touch someone. But evidently, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which tool you use. If you're drawn to the computer, use the computer. If you're drawn to the drum set, use the drum set. However, the limitation of the computer is that at this point, maybe not in 20 years, I can't create that event in real time. I cannot yet do it. We don't have those computers yet. So in the meantime, we still need human beings to do that. Maybe in 20 years it will be different. I don't know. I don't know how the curve is with, singularity and, all those things, quantum computers. But we will get there at some point, But right now, we need humans to do that, We need humans to relate to humans. Machine can't do it yet.